And we are at the Veterans Affairs Medical Center here in West Palm Beach, 7305 North Military Trail. My name is Carlton Cartwright. I'm the Executive Director for the Children's Coalition Incorporated. And we are here today interviewing, your name, sir?
Remar Harvin.
Okay, Mr. Harvin. What is your current address?
5446 Club Circle, West Palm Beach, Florida. Zip code there is 33415.
Okay. And you and I are the only ones who are attending the interview. What branch of the service did you serve in?
I served in the Air Force.
Okay, United States Air Force. And what was your rank when you separated?
I separated, I think it was Airman, what was called Airman Second Class, E3.
Right. Okay, and where did you serve?
Well, when I joined, I was shipped to Charleston Air Force Base, South Carolina.
Okay.
And I served pretty much my entire tour of duty at that station.
Okay. What were you doing prior to going into the service?
Well, I went into the service directly out of high school.
Okay.
Directly out of high school. I attended the Booker High School in Sarasota, Florida. Right. From 1st through 12th grade. Mm-hmm. And when I graduated in June, by July, as my separation show, I was in the military. Okay. The thing that you'd have to recall, in 1960, when I graduated, was a completely segregated school system. Uh-huh. Despite it being so many years after the Board of Brown versus Board of Education, right, there was still no integration. There was never, between 1st and 12th grade, a white student at my school. Mm-hmm. Not even a Spanish-speaking student at my school. So opportunities after high school in 1960 were very limited. I had two older brothers who were big guys and could play football. Right. And had other things that they could do, get scholarship to go. And one brother, in fact, went to Bethune-Cookman and played at the same time that Larry Little played. Mm-hmm. And we were all extremely proud and pleased with that. But for me, the youngest in the family of 4 boys, at 130 pounds out of high school, that was not an option. So what had happened, I think early in my senior year, one of my schoolmates who graduated a year or two before had joined the Air Force. Right. And he came back in that Air Force uniform, and it was just something to behold. Right. Here's a guy that had 2 pair of shoes at the time, a pair of shoes for church and a pair of shoes for wearing through the week. Right. And this guy came back and he had those spit-shine shoes and the stiff starched shirt and this cap that was just, I was out of his sight. And so I said, well, that's for me. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't do as he'd done. He'd gone down and taken the test and passed it, and when he got out, he was ready to go. But I did go down pretty early, and it was ironic that I wanted to join the Army. Despite seeing the guy in the Air Force, I thought their standards were a little too high. And so I went to join the Army. I had an older brother joined the Army, served in the Korean conflict. They called it a war now, but it was a Korean conflict. Right. And so I said, well, let me join the Army, so it's going to be easier. So I went there, and I'm a little confused about whether my test scores were too high or too low. Probably too low. And I remember the recruiter said, the Army is not going to take you, but we can get you in the Air Force. And I'm saying, well, that's like throwing the rabbit into the primary patch. It may seem like something that I might not want to do, but that's really where I wanted to go from the beginning. Right. And so I was tickled to death to be able to John. So I was gone, and as they say now, 3 hearts in a cart sound good to me.
Right.
Sound very good, and so I wind up in the Air Force.
Uh-huh.
Took the train to Jacksonville, and Jacksonville on to San Antonio,
Uh-huh.
basic training.
Right.
And I went there in July, again, as the record showed, and it's hot in Texas
Very.
in July.
Mm-hmm.
It's hot during the day, and the temperature drops, so it's fairly cool at night.
Uh-huh.
And I can remember that. And so that was the beginning of my 4 years in the Air Force.
Okay. Okay, so what did you know what your job was going to be before basic training?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm not sure anybody knew. I think of what I know now, that it depends on your test score
Right.
and some other thing that they factored in.
Uh-huh.
I didn't know. I was ultimately assigned to a military air transport base, which they call MAT in the Air Force, and that was Charleston, South Carolina.
Okay.
And our responsibility there were to send all goods to whatever their destination. All the air carriers came and would fly the baggage, going overseas, foot lockers, lots of foot lockers and duffel bags and those kinds of things, crates, parts for aircrafts and stuff. And so it was quite exciting there.
Okay. So how was basic training anyway?
Basic training was just, I want to say great, but that's so unusual for someone to say that, they love basic training. I loved it. I guess because of my background, I wasn't afraid. The instructors were hard, tough people, but I knew they had a job, and I knew that they were doing these things, being tough and in your face, because they were trying to get you ready.
Right.
And so it didn't really bother me, and so I breezed through the basic training. I did a lot of things that could have gotten me into trouble, but it didn't, because I was so little and so young looking and so innocent looking, cutie pie. I just remember getting away with murder, really. And so it was good. The biggest thing that happened to me in basic,
Right.
I was going along with the program, and said skipping in the child line and not leaving, going back to the squad. I learned the whole format, strategy of the trainers. Just the first couple of days, I could see how it was laid out, and I would take advantage of that. That's something that followed me through the rest of my life. I can sit down, I can analyze it, and I know that if we eat, and they only give you 5 or 10 minutes to eat your food, you gobble it down, and then you go out and GI the field, which is picking up cigarette butts and so forth.
Right.
And I would listen to them call out my squad, Quad 831, report for duty, and everybody would run out. I would continue to eat and go back for seconds and third. And when I finished, I would get up and leave, and I would join the others picking up butts. And I would wait for them to shift to come back past the mess hall, and then I would just get into the group as if I was there all the time. And I did that a lot. But the day that my whole life changed was when the second in command came to the squad and asked if anybody could box. And my Boy Scout master was a former Navy boxer, and he had been training me. And so I raised my hand. Well, I could box. And they put me in with this little guy that had muscles on his ears. And I thought I smelled up the place. He was chasing me all around. It wasn't in the ring. And so I was backing up and trying to give him the left jab and the hook, and nothing could stop him. He was like a pit bull.
Right.
And so I said, well, that's that. And lo and behold, when they selected the troop, I was selected as a lightweight to represent the squad.
Okay.
And I'm saying, why? The other guy killed me. But apparently I showed them something
Right.
on that day.
Okay.
And life had been easier, as I was saying, anyway, but it became much easier once I was known as the fighter
Oh, okay.
for basic.
So, okay. How long was basic training? Do you remember?
It's about 8 weeks, as I recall.
Okay. And after basic training, did you go to tech school?
No.
Oh,
No, they sent me straight for on the job.
Oh, okay.
On the job training.
Where'd you go?
Learned, no, there was still all that Charleston Air Force.
Oh, okay.
They assign you, you were either in administration doing government bill of lading, or you were in the warehouse handling the crates, foot lockers, and so forth. So you had your term at both.
Right.
And I laughed because one of my first roommate, guy from Chicago, and he must have been about 6'2", 240.
Right.
And again, I was like 5'6", 130 pounds. They put me in the warehouse to lift the foot lockers, the big crates, put him in the office, had a typewriter. And he's typing one letter every other minute. So I'm thinking, who's in charge of resources here?
Right. Right. What's wrong with this picture?
Yes, what is wrong with this picture? This big hunk of a man is trying to squeeze behind his little tiny desk, and I'm out there trying to lift these big foot lockers.
Right.
But they switched after a while.
Okay.
I didn't know that at the time, but I was going like, oh, this is not right. This is not right.
Okay. All right. So, how long were you stationed at Charleston, anyway?
My full tour.
And how long was that, anyway?
Actually, almost 4 years. You're a couple of weeks short of being totally 4 years.
Uh-huh.
So that was my tour. But the tour in Charleston was similar to basic in that I learned the routine. I joined the boxing team there.
Right.
And with that, there were certain freedoms. I could eat whenever.
So you boxed throughout your...
I boxed throughout my whole career.
Okay, so...
I only stopped my final year when I caught, they called it walking pneumonia.
Oh.
It was cold in Charleston, even though Charleston, of course, is in the South.
Right.
It gets very cold.
Yeah.
And it was so cold in the room, I could remember, and I wanted to warm up. And I started thinking about, well, that steam bath would have you warm, very, very warm. And so I went to the gym and got in the steam bath, and sure enough, I came alive. There was warm, every inch of my body is just tingling. It felt so good because I had been cold, very cold.
Right.
And so I stayed as long as I could, and I toweled off and put my clothes on. And then, with my whatever, I was about 20, I guess, at the time. With that mindset, I walked outside into all that cold with the pores wide open.
Right, right.
Went back to that cold building.
Yeah.
And about 3 days later, I was in the Naval Hospital.
Wow.
And the guy showed me my x-rays. He said, you see all these dark spots? That's cold, phlegm all in there.
Uh-huh.
And so I spent the next couple of weeks in that. Otherwise, I was scheduled, and this was the highlight of my whole boxing career.
Right.
I was scheduled to fight in the Pan American Games.
Oh.
I had won the right to fight. I had won the runners-up in the equivalent to the national military boxing tournament. And so that was really the height of mine. And with that win, that made me eligible then to go on. Now, in my mind, I'm thinking I've been cheated out of this opportunity to go.
Right.
But another part said, man, you really lucky because if you ain't gone to fight in the Pan American game, those guys are like professionals.
Yeah.
They were going to beat you from one corner of the ring to the next. So, you know, this is a blessing in disguise. So this is a legitimate thing. You hospitalized. Nobody can say you didn't want to go. You refused to go. You were sick.
Okay.
And so I didn't get to go
Right.
at all. And I was said that was towards the end of the duty. So I was on pretty light shift from that point on.
Right. Right. Okay. Okay. So what was your regular? Your regular job was like administration and supplies or something, or?
Well, I was in the
MAT.
administration. Once I got in the office where I felt I belonged to the
Right.
office, and I could put my typing skills because I had typing at Booker High, and so I went into that. I took some correspondence classes. I remember international correspondence school. In fact, when I was looking for my mustering out papers, I ran across that where I had taken these classes.
Right.
And I thought that might have been something I might want to do later.
Right.
To get into shipping, become a shipping magnet somewhere.
Right. We
So-
all have our dreams.
Yeah, so that's what I did. But actually, the special service duties from the boxing took up most of that time because I'm constantly training. Boxing is not like football or basketball. There's no season. You box.
Right. It's all year round.
There's always somebody that want to fight. So I fought the Marines, and I fought on all the bases, and they would fly you wherever to fight.
Well, if you fought all of that, those people, you may have stood a chance at the Pan Am Games.
Well, everybody got a chance. As my brother said, you got 2 legs, 2 arms, you get in there, you have a chance, but it wasn't a real good chance. On a real serious tip.
Okay.
Because towards the end, when I started, I had some rage, but I think the rage got beaten out of me, and so I didn't have that to fall back on. I had some skills, but
Right.
part of the problem that I had in my amateur boxing career was Muhammad Ali.
That was a problem?
That was a problem.
Why is
Because
that?
he was such an admirable guy.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted to be like him. I was one too short, too small to box like Muhammad.
Right.
I should have been a Joe Frazier admirer.
Right.
Because whenever I would come off of my toes and stop trying to pretend I'm Muhammad Ali and would be like Joe Frazier and come in and get my good body blows in, I would do much better.
Right. I got you.
Yeah, I would do much better. So
Okay.
I don't think that I had a real promising career, but I could take care of myself, and it made me, it was a real part of who I became.
Right.
Because I knew that I could knock a guy out. And I still think, at this advanced age, although I haven't hit anybody in anger in a long time,
Okay.
I still know that I can still twist the fist upon impact and send you flying.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, we won't try that out for
We
this
don't
interview.
want to try that because
No.
one, I would break my hand. I can still hit hard, but the hand needs to be conditioned. A lot of people don't know that.
Exactly.
You cannot just hit hard as you can. It's
Right.
not wrapped. There's no glove on it. You will just shatter your hand.
Got it. Okay. All right. So, were there any casualties in your unit, or do you have a service-related injury?
No, I don't have any service related, not even from the boxing. A lot of the troops that I served with that went to Vietnam, a lot of the ones that I met coming through, including classmates, some didn't return. And so I have that recollection. But I wasn't really ever injured. I mean, you're working in an office, so there's not a lot of room for injury.
Right.
Not even in the warehouse.
Gotcha. I got you. Okay, that's good. Tell me about a couple of your most memorable experiences in the military. The boxing was fantastic.
Well,
was there
yeah.
anything else?
The
Or?
boxing was the highlight, and at one point, my understanding is I set an Air Force record on one of the tests that they gave under administration.
Okay.
And that swelled my head up about 10 times normal size. And so instead of being a good thing, it turned out that I rubbed some people the wrong way, apparently, with that. Because one, I was a black airman in the South, in the southern base, and I was waving that paper around like it was a passport because I had schooled just off the chart. And so I figured this was going to get me sergeant ranks or something. And in fact, what it did was freeze me, froze me at that rank because people couldn't stand me. As I look back, I probably wouldn't have been able to stand me after that. Because I'm in the administration, I don't have to demonstrate that I'm strong, powerful, and shoot sharp. I have to demonstrate that I had an ability to run things, to be a manager, which I think I was born with almost. So that didn't surprise me. I mean, that high, if it had just been among that one base, would have been something.
Right.
But it wasn't. It wasn't. So that was a big experience to me. The other thing was not positive but negative that I remember. I was assigned night duty, which meant that I had to be on call for any plane coming in that had anything that needed to be personally handled.
Right.
And by that I mean like pharmaceuticals.
Okay.
But it happened to be the Air Force basketball tournament being held there at Charleston Air Force Base, South Carolina at the time.
Okay.
It was big. I wanted to go to see our team play, but I had night duty. I'd had night duties for many days before. Never anything came up that required attention.
Right.
Never. Not one single time.
Okay. Okay.
So I decided, go to the game. You know nothing is going to come. They never need you.
Right.
And so I walked to the game, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. I think we won. And I came back to, I'm walking to the main administration building thinking, as before, it would be empty, the clipboard would be there, nothing would have come in. And as I was approaching, people were running towards me. Where have you been? Where have you been? Came in, get a 7. And they were looking for you to take charge. You got to get it refrigerated within a certain amount of time, or it expires and has to be destroyed.
Oh, Lord.
Now the top sergeant want to see you. I could not believe it.
Right.
So I had to go from the top sergeant in my squad to the base commander, just up the chain of command. Just getting reamed, as they would say, by everybody.
Right, yeah.
It didn't work out badly for me, and I won't tell you how. I managed to get out because the statute of limitation 30 years later may still be in force. But nothing terrible that should have happened to me really happened to me.
Okay.
But I felt so bad when this valuable medication just spoiled, sitting on the dock.
Right, yeah.
Sitting on the dock. And I didn't see it, but in my mind today, I could see that box there. That they put there, it's supposed to be a guy to sign. They figure maybe he's in the little boy's room, he's B-Rat bag, whatever. But the hours wouldn't pass where this thing would expire.
Yeah.
But the next troops came on board and they saw time of arrival, not checked in, not checked in, not checked in.
Right.
So, as I said, that was a negative thing.
Yeah, yeah.
But perhaps one of the worst things that happened to me, it was nondescript, pretty much, except for the boxing, the full 4 years.
Okay. How did you stay in touch with your family?
Well, we wrote letters because I got married while I was still there, and I had another year to go. And so I was badly in love, and I was writing letters and And letters are very important to a military person.
Right.
When there's a roll call, you want to have mail, from basic all the way through.
Right.
So my mother would write, and the fiance would write, and that's what we do. I'd have ability to make some phone calls going back. You might remember the party lines. Kids have now, what do you call it, three-way calls.
Yeah.
And they think that's new. And it's
Right, yeah.
In my day, there was a party line where everybody in the whole neighborhood was on that same line. And so you can call and somebody's using the phone. And they won't get off the phone. So you're on the payphone and somebody's talking to their son, daughter about grocery shopping or whatever.
Right.
And you couldn't get in, but that was the two forms of communication, was to save up money, make a phone call, but to write constantly. And so, I was doing that, and I still have stacks of mail, and I love to see where my mind was at as a teenager.
Right.
And my writing skills, which I can assure you were atrocious. Atrocious. I would write a sentence, could be one whole page. No commas, no dash, nothing. And I'm just pouring out my love for this person here, and my mom and my fiance, talking about the military life and what I'm going through.
What was the food like?
The food was good. I had to adjust to eating food that didn't have, quote, proper seasoning, but I learned to enjoy natural taste, and that helped me a lot. That helped me a lot. I hear people talking about, in fact, about a week ago, the pastor in my church was saying that people have to have season when they eat their eggs. Everybody puts salt and pepper on the eggs, and it's just something that makes it better. And I'm thinking, no, I don't put salt and pepper on my eggs. Ever since the military.
Right.
I found out that egg has a unique flavor of its own. You don't want to drown it out.
Okay.
There was no honey mustard sauce to go on your salad.
Right.
I just ate the salad.
Right.
I didn't look for salt and pepper. And so, to me, it was good. And again, 3 hearts. And I wasn't used to that.
Right.
My brother would say, as we were growing up, 4 boys would sing a parent, a mom, that we ate all our meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But we just didn't eat them on the same day. Now, today we may have lunch. Tomorrow we may have breakfast. A couple days later, maybe even dinner. But they're just not all on the same day. So to go into service where I get breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then as a boxer, I could just walk in at any time.
Right.
Fill up my glass with orange juice, milk, chocolate milk, go back through the line. It was great.
You enjoyed that?
I enjoyed that food.
Okay.
I enjoyed the food. I even liked South Carolina water.
Okay.
That was good.
Okay.
So the military, the experience that I had, the after hours, being in Charleston, South Carolina, it was a segregated city at the time, to many disadvantages. But some of the advantages were that you got to see Diana Ross, my brother, who just happened to be stationed at one time at the Charleston Naval Base, the same time I was at the Charleston Air Force Base. Right. And he walked into the lobby and sat down and had a long conversation with Muhammad Ali. Because there's only so many places that black people could live. So many hotels, so many entertainment facilities that they could go and perform in. Right. And so you're able to see Ray Charles and Diana Ross and Muhammad Ali. What's the hardest working?
James Brown.
James Brown come through quite often. Right. Quite often. And you would see all of these people would perform. Yeah. There was one in Charleston, and anybody from Charleston, remember we would call it the hotel. It was in fact a hotel, but it had this lounge, and we would go there for dancing and drinks, and you could meet all the celebrities that came through. Eventually, they would all wind up at the hotel.
Really?
And you could see them, and they were just everyday people. Ike and Tina Turner. You would see these people, and it wouldn't cost a lot if you paid to go to see them. There would not be a lot of money, and people had respect for you if you were in the uniform. If you were in uniform, people had respect for you. You know, there in Charleston. And so I learned my way around Charleston, King Street, and go to the Piggly Wiggly Market, and now to know and to understand they have a black city manager in Charleston, when no black had gone to the Citadel there all of the years that I was there.
Right.
That's world famous. So, but I remember that. I remember when Dr. King came through Charleston. So that was a great experience. Great experience. I would not want to repeat it, but I would not want to lose that part of my history. It's just good. It makes me who I am today to have gone through that. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. I take it for granted you have all the supplies you need, especially since you're getting every meal that you.
Yeah, I have to say that they've supplied us with everything that you needed to do a good job on my job. As a boxer, I had the best equipment, you know, the ropes, the shoes, whatever I needed.
Did you feel any pressure or stress throughout your Air Force career?
Well, to make rank, when I really got serious about trying to make rank, because I just concluded that I wouldn't make it. Because again, I had a little rage in me.
Yeah.
The fighting hadn't taken out. And so I got into some difficulty. But there was that stress when I could see other people making the rank. And I couldn't get it because that meant more money. And I tried at one time to be reclassed. I wanted to get out of administration and get into the engineer to be a flight mechanic.
Right.
Who got flight line pay. If you worked on the flight line, you got extra pay.
Okay.
So I wanted that, so I had to be retested. And I finished the test, came back, whatever it was, 2 days later, and the sergeant was shaking his head and he says, "You are where you are supposed to be."
Right.
Administration.
Right.
And the thing was that I intentionally missed a lot of the administration questions so that it would go down and make it appear that I needed to be an engineer, which I thought I had studied up on.
Right.
Apparently, that's just not my cup of tea.
Okay.
No. Because there's a lot of math in there, and I wasn't strong in math. But admin things, I am. And it came out again, so he says, "Go back." So I couldn't get the extra pay, so that stressed me out because for weeks I was trying to prep up for that test and wanted to do well and just couldn't do it.
Right. Okay. Let me ask you. Did you use your GI Bill while you were in the service for education?
No, after service.
Okay. So, okay. What did you do when you, tell me about at the time when you separated.
Well, when I separated and returned to Sarasota, I had a brand new marriage, brand new wife. We were just kids and didn't want to be a professional boxer. And I didn't really have job prospects to speak of, and so I had about 2 or 3 jobs before I started working with the city of Sarasota, which I never looked back. Once I got into being a public servant, that was my call to fame because I could use my administrative abilities then.
Right.
That I really able to cash in on before. So when I got out of the military, I went to work for a mobile home manufacturing company, I remember, and basically I was just maintenance cleanup. I wasn't there 2 weeks when the boss came out and assigned me to work on the mobile home. Took me out of that maintenance job. Mm-hmm. And I was the only black guy on that whole crew. Had to be 30 or 40 men working there at the time. And he put me on there. Now, I don't know the motivation, couldn't have shown any skills because I wasn't working on them before.
Okay.
But again, as I profit from my high school education, the typing class to get in the administration in the military, my shop work helped me there because I can drive a straight nail, and I can saw, and so they put me on there making mobile home, and I made more per hour than I thought was possible. Okay. And that worked out great until the boss came out and he said we were going to be paid by the trailer piece.
Right.
So, and I tell you, that was a brilliant thing on management because there are a lot of people not pulling their weight. But when you get paid based on what you can produce during the course of the 8-hour day, you start turning in people who are slacking.
Right.
And I'm pleased to say I was one of the ones. I was working so fast.
Yeah.
So fast. And one of the things, when you do a mobile home, you put the metal, a lot of people don't know, where the windows and doors, you don't take the time to try to cut that. You put that metal over the whole thing. It is closed. Okay. And so a guy goes in and he takes his, like an ice pick, and he punch a hole where the window is and the doors. Right. And you take the little machine that you call a router, and you punch that thing in. Now when you route that metal, it sends a little spark from the hot metals coming in your face. And so I looked more like Howdy Doody, like I had freckles from where the hot metal would burn my face. Because you had to move so fast.
You didn't have any protection?
I had for the goggles for the eyes, but I would put the rest of that stuff on. Because you moving fast to get those trailers out. And so that was a real good job. But when they moved from Sarasota to St. Petersburg, I tried St. Peter for a while, but Lord have a way of putting you where you need to be. Right. And so that didn't work out, put me back in Sarasota where I started working with the city and spent the next 33 years working in housing.
Okay. Okay. As I'm aware.
Yeah. You were starting to ask me about the GI Bill.
Right.
I think we were getting around to that.
Yes.
The GI Bill came into play twice. Once I was honorably discharged, I wanted to buy a home. And I'd gone to the realtor, and I'm still not 22 years old. I want to buy a home. So, wasn't a lot of homeowners in my family. Wasn't a lot of homeowners even in my neighborhood. I wanted to own a home. So I went to the realtor, and I didn't have very much money. But once he found out that I was a veteran, he said, you need to go under the GI Bill. Right. You can get. And so the long story short is that I was able to buy this 3-bedroom, 2-bath home in what had been a predominantly white neighborhood. And I had to put nothing down. And my mortgage, that would have been 1967. Right. My mortgage was this whopping amount per month of exactly $99.97. Oh, Lord. And I remember saying just that, oh, Lord, how would I ever come up every month with $99? Not knowing that this day was coming. Right, yeah. When 1 month's mortgage payment is more than the whole annual thing.
Right, yeah, exactly.
But
yeah, right. It was $1,200 a year, huh?
Yeah, I was like, why am I going to get that? And the house, the kind people who'd owned it before left it completely furnished. Dishes, sofas, everything but TVs, radio, that sort of thing. So all I had to do was pack my bag. I still had a duffel bag too, so I packed the duffel bag too, and moved in. So that GI Bill was great, and the interest was only 6%. It was 6%. Now, of course, it has gone since we found that deep hole a few years back. It went way below 6%, but for decades, 6% was unheard of.
Right.
It was unheard of.
Right.
When I first moved to Palm Beach County, my first house I bought was 17%. So I was really thinking about, remembering I had that 6% VA mortgage. You know, for the longest I didn't know I could, once I paid it off, that I could get another one. I wasn't really aware of that. So that was the first GI Bill. And then similarly, along that same time, I wanted to get some college classes. And so I went to the local junior college under the GI Bill.
Right.
And that was great to have my tuition paid, you know, and I went full time. I always had to make sure that I was taking the equivalent of full-time hours. Right. In order to get the maximum. Right. And that helped me out. Yeah. That helped me out. Integration wasn't well adjusted in Sarasota County at the time, so there wasn't a lot of black people going to the local college. Right. There was an all-black college in St. Pete, which a lot of the black folks was going to, but I went to the junior college under that GI Bill. And the most memorable experience that I had at the junior college under the GI Bill was there came a time in one of the classes when they had a debate scheduled. Okay. And in my class, whoever the equivalent of a homeroom type teacher said, we're going to choose a debate team. There's going to be 2 teams. And we'll select 2 captains, and the 2 captains will pick out the people for their team. Now, I am the only black in the whole class. And I'm thinking, I don't want to be embarrassed, because as a little guy, I remember being the last chosen for sports and things, and I don't want this to become, well, the black guy is going to be the one that nobody wants on their team. Right. And so I did what was rare for me. I chickened out. And so the next class meeting, I stayed home. I didn't even go to campus. Okay. Was not going to put myself through that. So the next time I came to the class, I'm sitting there waiting. And I said, I hope I'm on somebody's team. Right. And so I asked the young man next to me, I said, whose team am I on? And I remember, this was decades ago, he said, you're not on anybody's team. And that's not how I felt. I said, Lord, they didn't even put me on a team. My goodness. But what he said next really flowed me. He said, no, you're not on a team. They chose you for one of the captains. You were one of the captains. There you go. I said, but I wasn't here. He said, no, the instructor chose your team members for you in your absence. So you have a team. Oh, okay. And I would say, flabbergasted. I was flabbergasted. That was perhaps the beginning of my not trying to pigeonhole people and being judgmental. I wasn't quite a Christian then, practicing that. I know I should have been doing that even then. But I thought, that was, to have been selected by all these people. I'm the only black during this time. There still wasn't integration per se in the area. That and the fact when the president of the school called me to his office one day, and again I'm judgmental, now what? What did I do? What are they going to chew me out for? In all of my years at Booker, 1st through 12th, I never had to go to the principal's office, never called. The principal would say this, I only call 2 kinds of people to my office.
Right.
The ones who were super smart and all the honors are the super bad ones. So if you didn't call, that just means you were a normal student. So I was hoping to get out of junior college that way, but I got called to the president's office. We had been assigned a writing test in class.
Right.
And the assignment was that you had to write about something that you were passionate about. And I decided to write about predestination and free will. Predestination and free will.
Right.
Predestination versus free will. Really have the ability to make the choices. Do you really have that, or are you destined to do that?
Okay.
Did I have a choice to come here today and be interviewed, or was it my destination? And the president called me into his office to say that this was the standard of writing that represent what they're trying to achieve at that junior college.
Okay. Congratulations.
And I was floored.
Yes.
And I kept that paper for so long because I think it was in pencil that the writing started to disappear. Because again, coming from that all-black school,
right,
there was a reputation, I dare say a stigma almost. Because when I went to enroll, they signed me for classes, which were all remedial classes.
Right.
All remedial. And I said, I don't need to take these classes. And the lady said to me, aren't you from Booker? The same said, aren't you black? Right. I said, yes, I'm from Booker, but you need to look at my transcript again.
Right.
Because I'm an honor student.
Yes.
And when she did, then I had the right to select my classes. So to go from that beginning to being called to the president's office to say, you represent the standard of the school.
Exactly.
That was something for me.
Last question. How did the military influence your life in general, overall?
Oh, just what you is textbook. The discipline that you get, making friends. I just recontacted, I think a year ago, one of my former roommates who served with me there at the Charleston Air Force Base on Facebook. And I knew he was from Savannah, Georgia. And I remembered his name because Pit Latin was big, and he called himself Eat That Smarter, which sounds very exotic, but really it's just Teddy Adams spelled backwards through Pig Latin. And so I said, well, I remember this guy's full name. It's going to be Theodore Adams. And he's from Savannah. And I'm going to find him under something, blah, blah, through the computer. But I said, well, first let me see Facebook. And I put in Teddy Adams, and about a half a dozen came up, but only one from Savannah, Georgia.
Gotcha.
And I turned to it, and I was so shocked because I knew that he was a trombone player the whole time. And I spoke about the hotel in Charleston, the band played. Well, he had a band that would often play this trombone. To get in free, I would carry his trombone in as if I were part of the band.
Right.
Everybody know him, but I got the instrument, so I look like I'm a part of the band. So we called him Bone Man. And I was wondering, whatever happened to this guy, Bone Man? And so when I found him on Facebook, first thing I noticed was that he was in the Musician Hall of Fame in Georgia.
Right.
The Musician Hall of Fame. So he continued to play the trombone. And he worked for his city.
Right.
So he went into local government the same that I had done.
As you had, okay.
So I was really, really, really pleased with that. But If it had not been for the military enabling me to grow up and offer me some other alternative to being a migrant worker, not that there's anything wrong with being a migrant worker,
Right.
but my family wanted me to elevate. My dad and my mom both only went to 4th grade. And I always have to hasten to point out, and they were still smarter than me coming out of school. I could never understand how they could get so much into only 4 years.
Right.
But having the yearning to be more, I think, was instilled in me in the military. They exposed me to people who had higher education, black people who had rank there. Gave me something to look forward to. I never sought a military career, never seriously considered a military career, but it was the thing that caused me to be it. And that's about 2 weeks ago, something happened related to the military service. A gentleman said, "You're a veteran, aren't you?" And I said, "Yeah." I started walking. No, I got to find out. Got to find out. How do you know I'm a veteran? He said, "Look at you. Look at your shirt.
Yeah.
It's lined up with the belt. It's the way you hold yourself. You're military all the way." All these decades later,
Right.
yeah, I do line it up. If I have a belt on, then yeah, the shirt is going to line up.
Gig line.
Yeah, gig line. You're going to do that. You're going to do that. So, yeah, it was the military changed the ability to go to college. Was made possible through the GI Bill, buying my first house made possible, my standing in the community made possible, my exposure during the civil rights era to be in Charleston, which is next door to Orangeburg, South Carolina, the home and the birthplace of sit-ins and things like that, through the military. So a lot of my history, I wouldn't be who I am today without being military. Now, in my family, my oldest brother is the one who thought of the veteran.
Right.
In fact, when they called to get information on vets, they asked for my brother's information. Nobody remembered that I had been in the service because I have not thought of as a vet. But he had 3 tours of duty in Vietnam and 2 Purple Hearts. And the distinction of being on the medical team that examined this country's first astronauts.
Oh.
So he's always thought of. He's a chief petty officer.
Got it.
And me, I was low rank, full of rage.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you for a wonderful interview, and also thank you for your service.
I'm glad to be here, glad for the invitation.
There you go.